Hello, one and all. Welcome to the Matchbook Horse Racing Podcast, where we're going to finish off our York preview. Now we have decks for the Friday action, which includes the slightly uninspiring, I suppose, return of Stradivarius up against not a huge field, but it'd be interesting to see how he gets on. He's a warm water towards the top of that betting. And then we've got the Lockinge. That is inspiring. That looks a really interesting renewal and a fair enough sized field going forward for it. So we're going to have 9 races previewed for you over the next couple of days. And I'm joined by Micheál Deasy. He's one of our own. How are you, Deas?
Good, Tom. Very good.
You liar. He's not as fresh as he'd like to be. Nat Green is with us. Hi, Natalie. How are you?
I'm fresh. I'm good. I've got my cup of tea. Nice to be back on Matchbook.
Bit of coffee, bit of tea. Very professional as ever. Donn, you are Mr. Professional. How are you?
I still have a little cup of coffee here as well. Yeah, it's all good, Tom. Yeah,
good. Right, let's tell you all the bits that you need to know first of all before we get stuck into the preview. So it's a reminder that all the selections will be on insights.matchbook.com. That's for a recap of all of the guys' best bets. That'll be up there from later on today, starting with York going on into Newbury. If you're liking our content, you're watching on YouTube, then give us a thumbs up and you can subscribe for free. And if you're listening to us on the podcast, give us a 5-star review, preferably. And again, subscribe because it makes it easier for you to listen each and every day. And that's across all sports that we preview for you. And the timestamps are available for each day and for each race. So if you want to skip ahead, just check out the description, however you're listening or watching. It will be below, so you can skip to each race if you want to. Okay, we're going to get stuck straight into the Marygate. So a nice filly sprint for you. Miami Girl is 4.3. Carmella is 6.2. Fix You is 6.2. Daytona Lady 7.6. Yasat is 8.6, 10.5 for Pillow Talk, 12.5, and Bigger the Rest. We're doing this before racing has kicked off. I'm getting my days mixed up now. On Thursday, the Wednesday indication was that maybe you wanted to be drawn. Well, I was going to say high, but then of course, Highfield Princess won out of 1. But I think in the earlier sprint, it seemed to be that you wanted to be high, and we've got 16 runners in here. Deasy, is that any reason as to why you've chosen your filly, or is that just a coincidence draw-wise?
No, that was just an added bonus. The horse I'm looking at is Daytona Lady. Sean was trains it now. He booked Ryan Moore for Daytona Lady on debut. It was the first time he'd ever booked Ryan Moore, and she ran quite green. She was a bit slow to the stalls, and she was off the bridle early, had to be pushed along, but didn't really handle the bend. Came very wide, but won going away once the penny dropped. Won like a good horse. James Doyle is on today or tomorrow because Ryan Moore is in Leopardstown. But I was just looking for a bit of value in this because this is a 5-year-old fillies race. This is very open. She was a bigger price last night. She was about 9.0 when I was looking at last night. So she's into 6.2 there. I'll just go win only. But I think that they obviously must think it's a good horse if they went to book Ryan Moore for the first time. He went up to the challenge for it. So I just thought that was a nice indicator. And I'm happy to go with her.
Doing all right at the moment, Ryan Moore, isn't he? Had a flying time of it last week in Chester. Natalie, I agree with you. Apologies, but you can make the main case for Carmella.
Yes. Well, by the way, Highfield Princess would win from any draw, Tom, because she is wonderful. I love that horse.
You're right. To be fair, she did very well.
She's awesome, and it's just so great to see Quinn and Jason are such a good little team. I was so happy when I saw her win. Miami Girl and Carmella. What I did is just watch the replays and then really went on what I like to do best and just look at the horse. And I thought Carmella looked a little bit more professional. I think they both were babyish, as you can expect on debut. Miami Girl, she would have learned plenty. She was pretty keen, but when she forged clear, she did forge clear impressively. I've got to admit that. You can't take anything away from her. But Carmella, I just really liked her attitude in the replay that I watched. Dave Lockinge, he's not too far away from me, actually. I'm SY postcode. He's just down in Shropshire. He's had a good time at Chester. He really does think a lot of this filly. He loves her. I think he's hoping that she's actually going to be very special indeed. It's kind of a bit of a case of which one will improve further for tomorrow, and I have come down on Carmella. One that I did want to mention though, Tom, because I get annoyed if I don't give a bigger price and then it gets a nice place, was Yasat for Carl Burke. Again, I do really well following Carl Burke. He often gives me a few really good winners and tips. And Clifford Lee on board, I thought that's got a squeak, but win-wise, I'm warm on Carmella.
Obviously, don't give out your entire address because you know who's watching. But is an SY postcode? Is that Shrewsbury?
Well, it's Shropshire. Well, I'm Cheshire borders, so technically I live in Cheshire, but I've got an SY postcode. So don't hunt me down, people.
The old debate of Shrewsbury or Shrewsbury. I won't ask Donn or Deasy which one. Shrewsbury.
You know, people are going to tweet in, she doesn't know what she's on about. She's not even a Salopian. But all my Salopian friends made it very clear it's Shrewsbury.
Okay. I feel like if I had a horse, I'd call it Shrewsbury Scone, just to really wind people up. Anyway, Donn, what we got?
Yeah, I'm just getting used to my own postcode. I'm not even. I think it's AW. I don't know, DC, if you know your postcode. They're relatively new to us here, but County Wicklow normally does it.
Honestly, the first time I went to Ireland, I was like, "What's the postcode?" What do you mean?
They were like, "The what?"
Honestly, how do you get any letters? Anyway, right, go on, Donn. Sorry, what do you like?
When Arkle got post addressed to Arkle, Ireland, that's how Ireland used to work. I quite like Miami Girl actually. I thought she did a lot wrong at Newmarket the last day. She kind of broke slowly. She was keen early on, but then the turn of foot that she showed when Ross Ryan asked her to pick up, it just was impressive. Look, it's very difficult to know with these likely race fillies, obviously, but going on that, the turn of foot she showed, nothing has run from the race since, but she did beat a couple of well-fancied fillies in behind her from good yards. Richard Hannon won that race with Threat 3 years ago, and Threat went on, was only just beaten in the Coventry, won the Gimcrack. So it's a positive for me that Richard Hannon allowed Miami Girl running that race. And yeah, I think she can come on a fair bit, as Natalie was saying. A lot of it is down to by how much they're going to come on from their first run to their second. But I think Miami Girl, despite doing a fair bit wrong, showed a lot of pace and came away from her field well. And she's drawn low. I do like a low draw, Tom, on the sprint track at York, especially when the stalls are towards the stand side. It means that the kind of low drawn numbers are more middle to far side than absolutely flush against the far side rail. So I think her draw in stall 4 is pretty perfect. And yeah, I think she can run well.
Yeah, that's the draw I went with the sprint yesterday, and then got it completely wrong.
Me too.
My tentative shout is Carmella for a lot of the reasons that Natalie gave. I liked the performance at Yarmouth on probably similar sort of ground by the time we get to racing on Friday on quick ground. I like the trainer with these sorts of horses. It's a tentative shout. I went the other side with the draw, and I was pretty impressed with what she did. I did quite like Daytona Lady, but it would worry me if she was slowly away again. Was the slight worry. But I thought originally she was probably the pick of the prices. But a small win bet, Carmella for me. Okay, let's move on to the 225. Another race for fillies. Doesn't necessarily get any easier. Let's have a look at what the betting is. So Grande Dame is 3.3. Perfect News is 4.4. Honey Sweet 6.2. Fontaine 7.2. Girl on Film 9.2. And then into the double figures. Okay, 3 shouts for Grande Dame. Natalie, you can kick us off.
Yeah, it's not very easy, is it? Frankie and John and Thady Gosden still have to get out. John and Thady Gosden. I mean, hoping to continue their good spell at York, aren't they? But how good was Emily up John? That was amazing. Grande Dame, what's not to like, really? 1 start, 1 win. I like Lope de Vegas. Closely related to Micheál, listed winners, so good relatives in the family. So it's kind of like you tick all the boxes. John has said that she was a little bit babyish, which is absolutely to be expected. Easier ground will suit. And they've also said that she's flourished in the spring, which is good sign, obviously, for these fillies. I look at that in mares as well. She holds the entry, doesn't she, in the Coronation Stakes? Although, to be fair, I know John's one of my favourite trainers, but he did say he wonders whether he got a bit carried away with the Coronation entry. But you're meant to get carried away, aren't you? Because that's the whole point, the dream and enthusiasm. I am worried about Perfect News, who I think brings the group form. I think brings more experience of a race day, experience of a crowd, everything. So that is my concern, would be Perfect News. But they clearly think an awful lot of Grand Dame and Grand Dame. And I think with Frankie on board, ever the professional, I can see why favourite. It's kind of everyone will be cheering and roaring, won't we, with the Frankie factor. And if anyone can nurse a babyish horse, a relatively green horse, it would be Frankie. But yeah, Perfect News would be the main challenger for me.
Yeah, I agree. Perfect News. I sort of set out to tip Perfect News. I can't argue that Grand Dame is a good value shout, to be honest. It's a bit like the filly you mentioned yesterday. I thought at the prices she was too short, then she went and bolted up. So on what she's achieved, maybe she is a bit on the short side, but you have to take into account who's training her, the entry that she's got, and she could well be too good for Perfect News, who we sort of know how good she is. I think she's interesting stepping up to the mile, Perfect News. I just took the view, very small stakes, that Grand Dame could just be a little bit more special, but it is small stakes. Before I get to you, Dees, you can make the case then, Don, for Perfect News.
Yeah, like I agree with a lot of what you and Natalie just said, Tom. Like Grand Dame has that real unknown factor. It's difficult to know how high she's going to go. She could go quite high. So you're taking on a filly who's got lots of potential with, I think, a filly who's got lots of proven ability in Perfect News. And I thought, like, she's got all that good form from last season. And I thought in the Nell Gwyn, she's shaped like a filly who could improve over further. I think the step up from 7 furlongs to a mile would suit her. She's by Frankel, so that ties in with that. As she goes out and trip, she should improve. She's out of Bashara, who's obviously very good at shorter distances. Bashara won a loader stakes over 6 furlongs at York, so that's a positive. And Perfect News herself ran well in a maiden at York, wasn't beaten far in finishing second last year. So I just think, and look, the Nell Gwyn was won by the Guineas winner Cachet. So there's plenty to like about that Nell Gwyn run. There's plenty to like about her back form from last season, and I think if she improves even a wee bit on what she's done so far for stepping up to a mile, I think that makes her the filly to beat in the race.
Okay, Dees.
Yeah, like I was actually going to tip up Fontaine, and I kind of talked myself out of it because I was thinking I was trying to be a bit too clever. Like, I thought she was beaten by Cornell the last day, but they were 8.5 lengths clear of the third horse. They were very good, and she tried to make all, and that could bring her on a small bit. But I think Grand Dame for the debut, it was very, very impressive. And there's good horses have run in that race last year as well. Create a Flair won it last year. I think that even at the price, she is not much value there, but I think she could be very, very good again with the trainer combination as well. Talk myself out of a value bet, and I think she's just the most likely winner. I think she can come on from that and be a top level filly.
I get the impression none of us are sort of out and out massive bets on any of those, but the next race has got horses that are a bit more backable, a bit more sort of, strong conviction behind the selection, certainly for me anyway. So this is the 3 o'clock, and Rogue Bear is 3.65, Bellocchio is 6.2, Spirit Dancer and Miramichi 8.2, Cockalorum 9.2, What's the Story 9.6, Parachute 9.8, Love is Golden 10.5, slightly bigger prices the rest. I'll kick off if we can, just because my best bet is Rogue Bear. I normally, starting off with a handicap like this, I would try and look a bit further down the betting and be clever. I just think this horse is screaming out for a step up in trip and gets that here. In the Lincoln, he absolutely ran. He ran the best race of any horse, but he was the wrong side, and things didn't work out ideally for him in the run, having been a bit slow away. And at Newbury last time, I backed him, but the one concern was definitely whether it would happen too quickly for him, and I'm sure it did. So, this looks absolutely spot on. 10.5 furlongs. I think the track will suit. The ground will be absolutely spot on. he's up another couple of pounds, but I think that's fair enough. Jack Mitchell's ridden him before, and I know it's it's a decent race. You've got Bellocchio, who's a last time out winner in there. You can make a case for a few, but I have a pretty strong conviction that this horse is still ahead of his mark, and I think he probably achieved his limit over a mile, but this trip is exactly what he wants, and he's a pretty warm bet for me. Donn.
Yeah, all of that. agree with pretty much everything. He's bred for further. His run in the Lincoln on his debut this season was a phenomenal run, really, and as a result, he was sent off a fairly short price for the Spring Cup at Newbury next time. And yeah, he just was raced that day like he was flat to the boards for a lot of the way. Like his Lincoln run, as you pointed out at the time or before the Spring Cup, Tom, I'm sure he missed the break. He was in behind. He was the only horse who could get close from off the pace, and he ran a hell of a race to get as close as he got. And then at Newbury last time, he was up handy, but was under a ride from a fair way out and did well to keep on as well as he did to finish third behind Modern News, who could be very good. He only got £2 for that, so it's only £2 higher than he was for that Lincoln run, which to me, yeah, exactly, smacks of a horse who could be seriously well handing up. He's only run 7 times in his life, and as Tom says, Jack Mitchell takes over from David Egan. Jack Mitchell rode him in his first 2 races, and he won one of them, so that's not a negative. I think his drawn stall 5 is good. He can just pop out and just take a tug and settle him in behind. He can be a bit free through his races, but generally over a mile and a quarter at York, they should go fast in a big field, and it should allow Jack Mitchell settle him back in the field on the inside and get cover pretty quickly and pretty easily. So yeah, look, it's set up for a big run from him, and I think he could end the season significantly higher than his current mark of 89.
Let's hope so. Donn and I in agreement, and then a couple of shouts elsewhere. Natalie, first of all.
Yeah, I was almost going to say like no bet, and then realised, God, it's ridiculous. I've got to say something, but I can tie myself in knots over this race, and I can absolutely see the love for Rogue Bear for all the reasons that you've said. I like to put these ones in, don't I? Come down on the Bellocchio, the Italian one. What it was really at Kempton last time, yes, on the all weather. Then you look at the form and you think, actually, soft ground, heavy ground, so why am I picking this horse? But it was more the attitude. I thought last time at Kempton was such a game performance. Hadn't seen since 16th of November 2021. So for reappearance then the latter end of April, I just loved that in the final strides. It was really encouraging, really game, loads of attitude, and I thought it was brilliant. But like I say, I am slightly worried about the going, but you can't go on about that too much sometimes. They run on carpet, they go on gallops, they go on grass, they go on this, they go on that. You just, if they're good enough, they're good enough. So yeah, I've come down on Bellocchio, but I was a bit cautious about this race, to be honest, Tom.
No, listen, that's fine. I'm a no bet in the next race, so there you are. If you don't fancy anything, quite right to sit on your hocks and not get involved. Deasy.
I thought I'd just touch on Rogue Bear first. I have Rogue Bear up as my best lay, as a place lay. I was looking back at this race the last few years, and most of the horses that win this, run well in this, would stay a mile and a half. This is an extended 1 mile too. I think you need to stay further. I would be dropping Rogue Bear back in trip rather than sending him up in trip. I like, even with Kodiak's, most of Kodiak's best horses are sprinters. I don't think that going up 2.5 furlongs is going to be in his favour. So that was my angle for place lane, because he'll be a very sharp price to place in the top 4, top 3. So I'll have a little small bet in that. And the horse I came down on to win was Parachute, Ed Walker's horse. He finished 4th at Epsom there a few weeks ago behind Going On, the Jim Boyle horse. He was absolutely smashed up that day. Parachute actually hit the front, and I think he hit the front a bit too soon and stayed on. He was just run out to the 4th by Silent Gateway, I think, in the last strides. And against Silent Gateway was very well back to Chester last week. He looked a horse that must have thought he was a horse ahead of his mark. Ed Walker has been kind of hitting the bar recently. He's at a few wins in a few seconds, but his short price horses are running well. there's been a small bit of money for this horse as well since Dex. I think he's going to be about 10.0, 10.5. So I'm just going to go win only, but you could go win place as well at that kind of price, and hopefully the drop back a small bit and the blinkers will sharpen them up, and that should get them home.
Okay, that's Parachute. I hadn't seen your best lay, Dees, but that's good. That makes it exciting. There's no way he wants to come back in trip, this horse. No, I mean, just no, no way. He can't want to come back.
Yeah.
He can't.
Grand big long straight at York now for him to be flying from the back and doing what he does.
I do take that point. 10.5 at York. If they get going early enough, he's going to have to stay to win it. Yeah, but I definitely think he's a 10 furlong. I tell you, there's going to be some abuse flying around.
There is, yeah. No, in fairness, like
I'm deleting his number, deleting it.
It's a good point on Kodiak, but on his dam side, it's all stamina. It's all 1.5 miles, 1.6 miles even. Yeah.
I know. I was looking at that as well, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't see it.
And that his dam side, allied to his running style, I agree with Tom. I think up and trip he could improve quite a bit.
The favourite for the Dante today is at Kodiak, who won over 10 as a 2-year-old. But I do. I think he was favourite when I looked. But he does tend to get early sprinters, doesn't he, as a rule? But fingers crossed. I'm a little bit worried, Andy. I won't lie. I'm a little bit worried. I'm scared. But I hope sincerely you're wrong. Let's move on. Let's move on to the.
Or he could finish second or third, and we'd all be wrong.
Yeah,
he could not quite see it out and finish second, and none of us are happy.
So our win bets down and Deasy's lay bets down.
Yeah.
That would be a disaster.
Which a second will be his best result of the year. So trainer wins.
It would just be really. Wouldn't that be such a sad result? That'd be awful.
Yeah.
Right, I'm a no bet in the Yorkshire Cup. I've said that already. I couldn't really find an angle in. I think some people have a strong opinion about it. Some people, I can imagine, make Search for a Song a good bet against Stradivarius. She's 4.9. Oh, Stradivarius is 2.0 though. That's surely going to tempt some people in. Tashcan is 5.9. Thunderous is 9.2, as is Max Vega. Okay. I'm sitting out, even in the without market. It's not for me. Search for a Song. Donn, you can make the case initially.
Yeah, look, I just love this filly or mare now. She's just been unbelievable. Like her Irish St. Ledgers were phenomenal, especially her first Irish St. Ledger when she won as a 3-year-old, despite running with the choke out for about 1.5 miles. Remarkable ride that day by Chris Hayes as well. But yeah, look, she's like even on ratings, she's £4 inferior to Stradivarius on ratings, and she gets £6 from him. So she should be way closer to him in the market than she is. And like the Dermot Wild horses were a wee bit quiet in the early part of the season, but they're running into form now. He had Easy and won at Naas there, although she only just got home. But he's had a good few horses, even in the last 7 days, have run well without winning. And yeah, I just think she had a good run at Navan on her first run this season in the vintage crop when she finished second behind her brother, Kyprios, who I think goes in the Savile Beg Stakes on Friday now at Leopardstown. And she goes over there. But yeah, I just think like a 1.6 miles is a perfect trip. And Stradivarius is 8 years old now. He's I think the public opinion keeps him short in general. And I think Stradivarius won't be as good this season as he has been. And Search for a Song, I think she could improve from her Navan run the last day. And yeah, I don't think she should be 5 to 1 or thereabouts to beat Stradivarius. I think she's overpriced at that.
Okay, Natalie.
Yeah, I also love her. Stradivarius is just a legend. He's got nothing to prove. Doesn't have age on his side, and I think that if we can get him beat, it is going to be with Search for a Song. She's a beautifully tempered filly, I think, mare. She settles really well, which is the absolute attitude you want to see. Takes it in a stride, races well. I think it has been mentioned that she's been a little bit claustrophobic. That was like in the past, but I think this small field particularly will really, really suit her. I think she's terribly exciting. Like, look at her entries. I mean, it's going to be great to see, the Ascot Gold Cup. I think, she's still improving. There isn't really anything I don't like about her, because if you've got all those qualities, and I do like horses that can settle and just get on with it. So it's sad for me to say I think she's going to beat Stradivarius, but I think she is. I have liked Tashkent in the past, but I just don't think he's quite good enough against these. So search for Song. And I think the trainer's made a very wise decision, like Don said, with her brother running to come here. And I think she's the winner of the Yorkshire Cup Stakes.
Okay, if I was pushed at those prices with Matchbet, I'd probably go 2.0 Stradivarius. But Deasy, you could make a stronger case. 2.0 Stradivarius, Search for a Song 4.9, Tashkent 5.9. Why Stradivarius, Deasy?
I just think he made a few mistakes them last year. I know Edge is on his side, but I think he should be able to give Search for a Song. If you look at Search for a Song, the only time that she has ever won before kind of July, August was her maiden, where she beat horses who went on to be rated 85 and 73. She generally late her season form, but I don't know why that is. Might have been the way that Dorma well trains her. No, it was good the last day. I'd say Kipgrass is a good horse as well, but I just think Stradivarius, like they made a few mistakes last year. Frankie opened up and said that he got the Ascot Gold Cup wrong, and this is going to be his 16th or 17th time winning this race. So I think they said it's a prep race. I don't think it'll be a prep race. I think they'll want to win here, and he finished off the season very well last year. He was very impressive in his win. So I still think he should have the class to get through, and wouldn't be a massive bet. No, I would just pick him out of them all. You're muted.
Yeah, that's the fourth race where Stradivarius heads the betting, the Yorkshire Cup. We move on to the fifth, which is a 1.5 handicap, dominated betting by the Godolphin pair currently, and Wild Crusade is 2.82, 4.3 New Comedy, Al Kareem 4.9, Aknamara 9.2, Pons Alias for trainers, well, the last three of these 9.4, and double figure prices the rest. I wasn't very strong Wild Crusade, but I thought he was the one to beat, even though it's incredibly obvious. I quite like the way he did it last time. He just looks like a horse that's going to keep improving physically, maybe with a bit further in time, but a solid favourite. It would be a small win bet for me. Couple of shouts for Al Kareem. Natalie, first of all.
Yeah, it's unlike me actually to go against my beloved Charlie Appleby, who can do no wrong in my eyes ever. But like I said before, just Carl Burke, Clifford Lee, they've done me very, very well time and time again. Not really done a lot wrong looking at the form, has he? He's never really been out the top four. I did like that Sandown run last time, even though he was beaten by like 3/4 of length. He was just a bit keen. But he rallied and he battled back, went second again, and it was by 3/4 length. So he was beaten by that Red Vineyard, to be fair. I'm not going to say, he didn't really have many excuses. It was just a bit too keen. So I think if more settled, or what he'll do is do what he did at Nottingham and try and make all and go for it and just stay there, which I can also see happening. But I just love that combination of Carl Burke and Clifford Lee. Bit of a task, isn't it, to take on those legendary blue colours, the Blue Boys. But Al Kareem, I think, deserves to be there, and I'm hopefully going to get a win.
Don.
Yeah, I like Al Kareem as well. I think the step up in trip to 1.5 miles is key, really. Like everything that he's been doing, he's been kind of wanting further. He won over 7 furlongs at Newcastle at the end of just after Christmas last season. Then he was gelded. He ran well over 1 mile at Southwell on his first run this season, when he got into, it was only a 4-horse race, but he got into a bit of a bumping match at about the 2 furlong marker, and it seemed to set him back. And then he stayed on again to finish second. Then he won well at Nottingham, stayed on well to beat Mr. Big Stuff, and he led that day. He was drawn out wide. Clifford Lee brought him across and got into a nice rhythm in front, and Mr. Big Stuff chased him the whole way. The pair of them pulled nicely clear of Spaycaster, who's against him today. He's better off with him, but I still think Al Kareem can confirm the form. And then last time at Sandown, as Natalie said, he ran he just ran a strong race over 1 mile and 2. When Red Vineyard came up on his outside and took it off him, and then Boltol came up on his outside, he dropped back to third. But just the attitude that he showed to battle back as well as he did, and he got to within 3 parts of a length of Red Vineyard, by the time he got to the line. That to me suggested that a stronger test of stamina would suit him better. It's not contradicted by his stamina or by his pedigree. You wouldn't said on pedigree that it was obvious that he wanted further, but the fact that he races like he does and there is stamina in his pedigree, I think he'll improve for stepping up and trip. And yeah, from stall 3, I wouldn't mind seeing him get out in front or adopt a prominent position, because he's a galloper who kind of it just keeps on galloping. He's only up 3 pounds for his run the last day at Sandown. That was a 0 to 90 at Sandown the last day, and it means that he's up to 89, so he stays in the 0 to 90 bracket. And look, you can see the Godolphin horses, both of them they've got loads of potential. But I think Al Kareem has the form in the book. I think he sets the standard, whereas the betting suggests that it's the Godolphin horse to set the standard. So yeah, I'm happy to be with Al Kareem at the price.
Okay, Dees, last up.
So my selection is actually the other Godolphin horse, New Comedy. This is its second run now after wind surgery. So it won in January in Suddle. Again, ran a bit green, and it was out there a few weeks ago at Haydock, winning under a penalty, beating the John Gosling horse. Now it went for home, and it got into a good battle with a horse called Baltic Bird, who actually got ahead, and New Comedy managed to battle back and actually just get up on the line. Thought it was a good just a good performance for a horse. His second run, and the wind surgery has obviously has helped him a bit. No, James Doyle had deserted him, but he's a slightly bigger price. And I just want to give a shout to another one. I thought he was a much shorter price than he is, but Pons Alias, the Mark Johnson horse, I thought he was going to be a lot shorter, so I didn't put him up. But he looks to be kind of a bit of a win place bet. Obviously, Mark Johnson wins this nearly every year, but I started off with this horse and I was going through the race, and he ran twice. He ran in March and April at Wolverhampton, but he's gone up a stone. And I was like, they got to let this horse go up a stone to win $7,000. It's like, that's terrible stuff, really. Like, if he that much in hand, they could have picked something out. But it could have been easily that he was just getting him fit for this. He's running in off 77 here now. He's got he's getting nearly a stone from the horses at the top. He's 9.2, so I'm going to stick him in as a win place bet as well, because there must be more to come from him.
Okay, New Comedy and win place Pons Alias for DC. Okay, that is York Friday done. Time to tell you about the ongoing sign-up offer with Team Matchbook. It's for new customers only. It is the £30 welcome offer with money back as a free bet if your first bet loses. Place your first bet. If it doesn't come in, Matchbook will refund your stake as a free bet up to £30. The full terms and conditions are on the Matchbook website. 18+. Be gamble aware, and most importantly, to take advantage of that, use the code INSIGHTS30, INSIGHTS30. If you haven't got a Matchbook account, but you're listening to the podcast or watching it, then it's well worth taking advantage of. You're likely to get best odds anyway with the exchange and not have a £30 welcome offer. If your first bet doesn't win, you can have £30 back to you as a free bet. Okay, race number 6 we move to then that we're previewing. It's race number 1 on Saturday, and it is the 135. So it's the Carnarvon Stakes, a chance for these 3-year-old sprinters to head to Newbury. And at the top of the betting currently, you've got Tiber Flow for William Haggis, 4.0, 6.0 for Eraz, Hierarchy 6.5, 7.0 Cadamosto, 10.0 St Maximus, bigger prices the rest. Hierarchy, 3 of us have gone for Hierarchy. I'm surprised. Deesh, you can make the case first of all.
Yeah, like, it was definitely a price thing, but I thought he was like, he finished second to Go Bears Go, who probably is going to be an elite sprinter this year. He was very good, and he as well as that, he just as he was kind of getting his run, Go Bears Go just swerved a small bit into him in the rail. It wasn't interference or anything, but it just kind of stopped him. Now he obviously flew away from Eraz and the other horse, but I liked him a lot as well last year. I backed him a few times, and he was rock solid. And he seems to have trained on. So it was more of a price thing with him. I thought he was well worth a win place betting this for all that this is quite open as well. There could be a few good ones in it, but yeah, it was an easy enough selection in the end.
Yeah, it was for me as well. I remember he was taken out of the Forgot what the race is called at Newmarket, the sprint there for juveniles at the back end of last season, and then he went to Del Mar, and that's a tall order. Thought he ran well on reappearance, as you said. That was with the tongue tie on for the first time. He's achieved a rating of 108. Hugo Palmer's won this before. If I could pick a side to be, it would be low, although there's only 9 runners, but it normally is on the straight track here at Newbury. And I thought he should be much nearer favouritism. Tiber Flow, I'm pretty keen to take favourite currently. I think he should be. I think whether he's quick enough for this, I'm not 100% certain. He's won at Newcastle over 7, Southwell over 7, dropped back in trip last time. He was getting there, but it all happened a tiny bit too quickly, I thought. But yeah, hierarchy for me. Natalie?
Yeah, I could just talk about all of them in this. Hierarchy for me, I think Hugo Palmer's settled in really well to Manor House Stables, where he teams up with Micheál, who's a big part of that. Had a good Chester. And I just think this horse is versatile ground-wise. Really good attitude. I do like Erez as well, though. Yes, weakened in the closing stages in that Group 3 to Go Bears Go. But I think Erez has got a massive shout in this. I was a bit perplexed, by Tiber Flow, because, he's been absolutely mega on the all-weather. But I wouldn't have had him actually as favourite. So that surprised me a little bit. Hierarchy is my pick to win, but I'm going to be a bit left field, and I want to put up an each way. It's not a massive price, sadly, but it's actually horse number 5 for Marcus Tregonning, Rib High, because I won't forgive myself if I don't mention it, because I like it when I pick out these each way bets. I think a bigger field such as this, you just needs cover basically. He's a speedy horse, plenty of boot, and I just think he'll like conditions. So I wanted to mention Rib High, but for the winner for me, it's got to come down on hierarchy.
Okay, Donn.
Yeah, I agree with a lot that has been said. I wouldn't have Tiber Flow as favourite. Between Erez and Hierarchy, I can see both of them running well. I wouldn't be certain that Hierarchy would confirm their placements from the Pavilion Stakes at Ascot the last day. Erez was kind of away from the far rail. Hierarchy got a nice gap on the rail and quickened up smartly, but thought that Jim Crowley just wasn't overly hard on Erez once he couldn't win. So I think, and that was Erez's first run since last August. Well, it was Hierarchy's seasonal debut as well. I just think Erez, he's a kind of a bigger type of horse as well. I think he could improve maybe by more than Hierarchy might improve from that first run. And maybe that's why he's a shorter price. But I think Cadamosto could beat them all. His run in the Norfolk Stakes at Ascot was a very good run. He was over on the far side, and Perfect Park came down the near side and won it. He was only about a half a length behind Go Bears Go on the far side. So it was a big run. Now, I know Go Bears Go beat him by more in the Railway Stakes back at the Curragh here, but Cadamosto, he didn't run again last season after that, so maybe he just wasn't at his best that day. And his first run this season in the Committed Stakes at Navan was a good run. He was one of 3 Aidan O'Brien horses in the race. Ryan Moore rode him, but he wasn't the shortest price of the Aidan O'Brien horses, and I thought he did well. He ran as if he could come on. He just kind of kept on at the end of 5.5 furlongs into 3rd place. He ran as if he could come on for that run. And again, the winner of that race, New York City, was entered in this race, as well as one other Aidan O'Brien horse, I think. But the fact that he relies on Cadamosto, I think that's interesting. The Commonwealth Cup is probably the race for him, as it is for most of these, all being equal. But I think Cadamosto could come on from his Navan run and back to his Royal Ascot form from last season in the Norfolk Stakes. Yeah, I think he could go close to winning this, and he's 3rd favourite. I think he should be shorter in the betting than he is.
Interesting. So a few different selections there. Although Hierarchy, there's sort of consensus. Rib each way, win and place, I should say. Cadamosto as well. Gone. Okay, the Al Ryan, registered as the Aston Park. This is the 210. We will finish up with the Group 1 Lockinge, don't you worry. This 210's over 1.5 miles, and Ashada heads the betting at 4.5. Scope is 5.0. Fox's Tails is 5.5. Illarab 6.0. Without a Fight 7.0. Outbox 11.0. Couple of shouts for Ashada. I will come straight back to you, Deasy.
Yeah, again, this was a simple enough selection for me. I think that she is probably the best horse in the race by a few pounds. She was my tip for the Oaks last year, but she didn't end up running. If you look back to her debut last season, she won at Newbury, beating Glory Monday. Then she finished second into Love and Dream at Ascot, which was good form. Love and Dream went on to win at Longshop at the end of the year, and Shada finished off winning on Champions Day, beating Alba Flora. So if she's ready to go, I think she should, and if she's trained on, I think she should have the measure of all of these. I think I'd say the bottom three in the Foxtails outbox without a fight wouldn't be at that level. Scope might need a bit of cut on the ground, and El Arab is El Arab.
Yeah, I'm with you, El Arab. He ran an awful race last time. I'm just at the prices I've been tempted in, because I think there's a really good horse in there, and I know that they couldn't really work out what on earth that was last time. I'm just going to take the view he needed the run. The horse that beat him had a run, and maybe this is the time to catch him up against two horses ahead of him in the betting who haven't had a run. It's a small stakes. Arab is a course and distance winner, but we just need to forget the atrocious effort that was last time out. Natalie.
El Arab. God, I know this horse too well. God, I always end up interviewing Maureen about this flipping horse. They really like him. The problem is he races lazily. He's just a lazy racing horse. But when he comes, he really does come. So there is stuff to like about him, Tom. He will have some big wins. I promise you, Team Haggis assure me. They keep a lot of faith with him. Absolutely, that run they would see that he'll just come on from it, 100%. Like I say, because he runs lazily, because we hadn't seen him for a bit. Yes, it wasn't a great run, but you would see improvement. But for me, not against a horse like Ashada. Group 1 win last time. I absolutely love her. Roger has said actually she does like a little bit of cut in the ground. I was just trying to look at the weather. I know it's just sort of sun and a bit of cloud. Currently sort of says good to soft, but it's not rattling, is it? I just think one thing about Ashada is so well suited to Newbury, big galloping track. You know, think about her as the horse that she is, rangy. You know, she's scopy and all those things, and her at Newbury I absolutely love. I can't see her getting beaten. I love Ashada in this.
Okay, I was tempted with Donn's selection. I got to say, we ran a cracker at Maidan a couple of starts ago, and probably found the run last time a little bit hot. Don, you like Without a Fight?
Yeah, all of that, Tom. Like he just improved throughout last season, and often when horses go to Maidan, they can kind of underperform, but he did well. He was only beaten by Hookham, and then, yeah, as you say, went to the Shima Classic and was just a wee bit out of his depth in that race. But he wasn't beaten that far in the end. Back here, I think a mile and a half of his trip, I think the small field is in his favour. He's a horse who likes to race prominently. He's got a nice drawn stall 3. Andre Etseni can get him out sharply and get him into a nice rhythm. If not in front, then definitely prominent. And look, he's one for small stakes for me, Tom, but I just thought that he was underrated a wee bit by the market, maybe because he doesn't, you know, he's a 5-year-old now. He doesn't have the same kind of, I suppose, attractive profile that some of his rivals do, but he's an honest to God horse. A mile and a half will suit him well. And if he can get into a nice rhythm in the front end and unpestered, then that would be ideal for him. And whatever he is, 7.0, 8.0, I think he can outrun that by a fair way.
Okay, solid enough cases made there, I think, for the Al Ryan Stakes. Kick on to the London Gold Cup, traditionally a really strong race which produces future group company performers. 13-runner field, hopefully it stays like that. And it's 6.0 the field currently, with Isra a point ahead of Surrey Mist at 7.0, Mr. Big Stuff 8.0, Wineglass Bay 10.0, sorry, 11.0 Red Vineyard, Inverness, bigger prices the rest. 4 different selections for you. Don, straight back to you.
It's that type of race, isn't it? Like I love this race, but I can't remember the last time I backed the winner of it. It's just, there's so many unknowns, and trainers are very good at. A lot of these horses will come in here with 3 runs, exactly 3 runs, and some of them running in their first handicap. Yeah, like I went around the houses with this. I started with Mr. Big Stuff, went to Israr, but I ended up on Red Vineyard. I just thought, again, it's back to the Al Kareem form. He beat Al Kareem at Sandown the last day, and he showed a lot of pace. He quickened up nicely and went clear, and he won on his race course debut as a juvenile. He didn't race until late in his juvenile season. And then his first run this season was that Sandown run when he beat Al Kareem. I just thought he was a big price that day, but he did it nicely. Like, it's hard to argue that he wasn't the best horse in the race, and he showed that turn of foot. And unlike Al Kareem, who I think will be suited by stepping up to 1.5 miles, he should. This 10 furlong trip looks to be a good trip for him. He did disappoint at Newbury on his last run last season, but A, it was over 7 furlongs, and B, it was on soft ground, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. Look, we don't have an awful lot of evidence to go on, but he's won on his debut. He's beaten who I think is a good horse in Al Kareem, who I think could be better. He should progress from that. He got a £5 hike for that to a mark of 83, which should be fair. Look, whatever wins this is going to run a career best, so he's going to have to improve. But I think there's every chance that he can. I think at around about 9.0 or 10.0, it's worth taking that chance.
Okay, Deasy.
Sorry, I moved myself there. The one I put up is Israr. Really banking on Jim Crowley having a good day on Saturday. Look, he just absolutely hated Newmarket the last time. He just missed the start and didn't handle the dip, but he still ran on well, and he was beaten 2 lengths in the end. But there was plenty to like about it. He's out of Tagruda, so he's very well bred. Like John Gosden, sending him into his handicap company for the first time. He doesn't miss with too many of them. Short enough price, but I think he could be a high class horse. Even the maiden he won at Doncaster, like there's a good horse promoted that the latest generation, the Simon Crisford horse. So like there's a lot to like about him, I think, with his profile so far.
6.0, Red Vineyard 11.0, by the way. Natalie?
Is obviously this is a launch pad for a few high class 3-year-olds. Look at like Baybridge, for example, last year's renewal. I kind of think it tends to go to the unexposed types. As we've said, it's quite hard, isn't it, to make much of the form. But Richard Hannon has 3 entries in this, so he's after the prize, isn't he? He's after that pot of gold, is Hannon. So he's got Marsoul, Razzle Dazzle, and Zoom. So I looked at those 3, and I've come down on Zoom. He's just stoutly bred, isn't he? And a day colt. He's run, in my opinion, 2 really eye-catching fourths. Yeah, they're fourths, but I thought they were eye-catching when I watched them earlier today in mile races this season. To me, a step up in trip is exactly what he needs, and I think this has been the plan. And Zoom's quite a big price, Tom. What have you got there? Because my phone is...
For Zoom, I have got 17.0.
Yeah, great. Look, you don't have to go like all in, but I'm absolutely going to have, I've got it down as a win, but even just a place on Zoom. And another one not to be ignored, which I love the name as well, is Wootton Son, of course, by Wootton Bassett, who Richard Boy has now gone to Coolmore. Hopefully going to go to Galileo Mares. Very exciting. Sylvester de Souza's on board. It was a nice run at Doncaster last time. That was on good to firm in a class 4. Yeah, it wasn't the most exciting race in the world. He was a bit keen as well. But it was all out at the end, and it was decent enough. So I'm just going to pick the bigger price in this and actually potentially play both of them. Zoom and Wootton Son. I can see the love for Red Vineyard because it ties in with my Al Karim form, and I can actually see where Deasy's going with Israr as well. But I just think this is the type of race for me where I'll get more fun out of bigger prices and hope that one of mine comes in. But yeah, Richard Hannon, he's running 3 for a reason, and I think Zoom's the one for him.
And the other horse you mentioned is 15.0 for Wootton Son. I've got the outsider here, which is La Pulga, who's 26.0. He might even be able to get bigger than that on the day with Matchbook as the exchange fills. Maybe it's a terrible shout. The Yard have got a good record in this, and I have no doubt they will be targeting this race. They sent the horse to Sandown on first start of the season, in traditionally a pretty good handicap when One Ease was very impressive. One Ease was the only horse really all day to make up ground from off the pace. I think he's very good. But La Pulga was dropped out and looked after on his first start of the season by Richard Kingscote late on. He had no chance from where he was trying to make his challenge from. And here he rocks up £2 lower over a more suitable trip. Well, that's what it seemed. He's only ever run one very bad race, and that came at York at the back end of last season. Maybe he was a bit over the top. Said it was the tacky ground that didn't suit York. When it's had rain, can be a tricky track to handle, and that was right at the back end of the season. I think he's just overpriced. Win and Place, La Pulga for a yard that I would imagine have targeted this race. I think he's very interesting. We move on to the feature. This is the Lockinge. All right. Bide is a very warm order, 1.5, but at least he's back. It's great to see. Mother Earth, who ran in a ridiculous amount of Group 1s at the back end of last year, or last year, 7.0. Real World is 9.0. Alcohol Free is 17.0. And I'm not even going to bother going beyond that. Okay, so there will be a without market if you want to play this without the favourite. Donna, I know you've said no bet Mother Earth if forced, but I guess just half sort of why Mother Earth if you had to out.
Yeah, like look, Bide he was unbelievable last season. All that he did, he hasn't been beaten yet, and he just kept on meeting every challenge that was put in front of him. But Mother Earth, like she's run 19 times in her life, but she's a Guineas winner. And actually, in the QE2 at the end of last season, behind Bide, she was well beaten by him in the end, but she was only beaten 3 lengths, and she was a bit keen through the early stages of that race. She was well behind, and she made good ground on the far side to get up and finish 5th within 3 lengths of him. So she has that class that she can compete at this level easily. Obviously, she's a dual Grade 1 winner or Group 1 winner. She's a Guineas winner. And her first run this season, the Park Express Stakes, was a good run. She beat Insinuendo, a good filly of Willie McCreary's. She only beat her by about a length in the end, but it always looked like she was doing enough. She should come on for this. And interestingly, Aidan O'Brien said directly after the race that the Lockinge was probably the plan from there. So this has been her target. And with that run under her belt, I just think maybe she can get closer to Bide than the betting suggests. And I think she's not really a bet in the without market either, Tom, because she's going to be short in that. She's second favourite, but yeah, if I had to have a bet in the race, it would be Mother Earth to win.
Okay, so I've got compared to all the races we previewed, a fairly strong opinion in this, that Bide is too short, and this might be the time. Not that I'm saying he's going to get beat, but I will lay Bide, and I'll definitely back Real World every possible way. I think Real World should be shorter. I think there's a case he could be second favourite, although Mother Earth was impressive on her reappearance. But I do think Real World's a proper horse. Probably like Bide, he might want further this year. He has 1 over 10. He's sort of priced up on 2 disappointing runs last year in Saudi and Meydan, but his trainer likes to roll the dice on the dirt. It just didn't work. He hated it. He's not a dirt horse at all. Now, there is the worry that that's left a mark, but he's coming back to a favoured surface. I think he's a proper horse, and I think he's a bet in the without market, and I'll back him Win and Place as well. And as I say, I'll lay Bide. The main reason, if I think Real World should be a good bit shorter, there is depth to this race. Alcohol Free's a winner at the top level. Real World is as good as that. I think he's a Group 1 winner in waiting, and Mother Earth is a multiple top level winner as well. And there is just no pace here. There's not a horse that wants to actually go forward and make this. Bide, on his first start of the season, he can be keen. I could see him, but it's happened before. He can be slowly away, take a grip out the stalls, and then there's going to be nothing to take him on into the race. Now, he might be good enough to just sit off them, and then perhaps he'll sprint clear and go and win 3 or 4 lengths. That might happen, but I just worry about him settling here and with no pace on. And ultimately, I think he's a horse. He's a sea of the stars. Surely he's going to want 10 before too long. So there's enough for me to want to be against him. So that's how I'm going to play it. Deasy.
Yeah, but fair play. I suppose if you're going to be laying horses, you want to be laying them at 1.5 bit of value there. I'd say he'll go off shorter than that. Mother Earth was my selection to come second to him. As Dan said, she wouldn't be a bet without market. Maybe do a forecast, but I think Baaeed is probably top class, and they wouldn't be running him here if they didn't think he was going to win and win impressively. And again, Mother Earth just had that the prep run that would have knocked the cobwebs off. I can't imagine she would have been 100% fit for that, but she got the job done, and she's a rock solid horse. So I could see her just finishing a couple of lengths second to Baaeed.
And Natalie,
I've got the forecast, and it's going to happen. I'm really good at forecasts. Telling you, Baaeed wins. He wins. He's better. Real World comes second, and Mother Earth comes third. That is going to happen. I promise.
That's the TriCast. That's the forecast.
That's the TriCast.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I'm really good at them. And also, I agree with you. Real World, forget about the dirt, hopeless. But Saeed said, hasn't he? He's done a brilliant bit of work. Really happy with him. But Baaeed's better, and Mother Earth, she's good, so she'll be third.
Okay. Well, so Real World's a bet to in the without market for you then if you make him second, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. And I'm only joking. I've got loads of notes on it, but I think Real World is the main sort of challenger for me. Plenty to like. I just think Baaeed is the best horse in the race. Hear what you're saying. Can go up and trip, but I still think he's going to be the winner. And that's it. I'm not changing my mind. I've got the 1, 2, 3.
There you go. If that comes in, we'll be tweeting all about it. Please do,
because I don't always get enough for my forecast, because I've had 3 this year.
Oh, we will. That's the Lockinge, the feature on the Saturday. So best lays now. I think we've only got a couple, but that's fine. There isn't always opportunity to lay horses. I am going to lay Baaeed at 1.5. I just feel there could be enough against him here with no guaranteed pace in the race on first start of the season. Maybe he'll go and bolt up. I think he's a little bit short. DC, we know that your lay, Dees. Go on.
Placely Rogue Bear tomorrow at York in I can't remember the name of the race now. Placely him for 3 places because he won't stay.
Which brings us nicely on to best bets. My best bet is, I know I haven't written it. I'm going to type it on the doc. My best bet is Rogue Bear because he's desperate for a step up in trip. And I honestly, you got me worried. Best bet, Rogue Bear, stepping up in trip. Natalie, your best bet
is Search for Songs. Sorry, Strad. I think this is the time I'm going to say. You beat mate. She's everything to like. Told you she's got a great temperament. She settles well. Opens further improvement. This is a right race for her, and I think she's the winner.
Okay, DC, you got a double for us?
Yeah, it's Jim Crowley's world, and we're all living in it. Ishada and Baaeed for the double on Saturday at Newbury. I was very close to putting up the treble as well with Israel, but had to have some bit of sense.
No, go for it.
No.
Donn McClean.
Al Kareem in the 410 at York on Friday, taking on the 2 Godolphin horses because he's desperate for a step up and trip. 2 1.5 this time.
That's the job.
I agree.
There we go. That's it, everyone. Hope you've enjoyed that. Plenty of agreement, plenty of disagreement as well. We'll find out what happens over the next couple of days. If you're liking the content, give us a thumbs up as ever and subscribe for free. It costs you nothing to do so. And check out the insights post for all the best bets we've put up there as well. From DC, from Natalie, from Don, from myself, wish you all a lovely weekend. Bye-bye.